Hi, it's Julian Mellor from propergolfing.com. In this video I want to show you a way to check to make sure you're taking the club away correctly. So often people make a really nice setup, get the backswing incorrect, and then the downswing becomes incorrect. Now what I like to do is, I've got a theory: if you can measure it, you can change it. But if you don't know what's happening, if you can't measure what's happening, how do you know that you're doing it correctly? So what we often see when people are, you see this all the time with tour players, Justin Thomas springs straight to mind. They make the setup, and the first place they'll check the swing is roughly at hip height. And you see golfers doing this all the time. Is everything in the right place? But in my experience, there's an earlier place that we can check this. And quite often, by the time your hands get past your leg, it's already gone wrong. So by the time your hands have moved, a foot, already the club could be moving on an incorrect swing path. So what I've done here is I'm going to show you how to set up a little station where you can check to see if you're taking the club away at the very start, so that it can be right at hip height and right at the top of your backswing. Now, just before I show you this very simple technique, if you are serious about your golf game and you really do want to take your game to another level and start improving in a structured way, you should be signing up to propergolfing.com. On there, once you join, you get instant access to hundreds of videos in the library section. You'll also get monthly coaching sessions with myself, as well as a weekly Zoom webinar that I host where golfers join us from all over the world. One of the members says it's like having their own professional that they can tap into at any time, and that's absolutely true. Now, onto this exercise. So you're going to need 3 golf clubs. So you've got an outside one which is pointed towards your target, you've got an inside one which is parallel to the outside one, and then you're going to need a third one, and I'll show you why we're going to use that in just a second. So quite commonly people make their normal setup, and the first place they'll check this golf swing is at hip height. Now what we're going to do with this exercise, I want you to make your normal setup, and this is now where you need your spare golf club. And what we're going to do is put this spare golf club from the heel of your lead foot to the toe of your back foot. So I'll show you this from some different angles so that you can really start to appreciate what we're doing. So I'm making my normal setup, and it's literally just touching the heel of my lead foot and the toe of my right, and it's roughly at 45 degrees, roughly. Now what happens if we start to move the club away correctly? By the time we get to this position here, by the time my hands are actually about in line with my right leg, the shaft of the golf club should be on the same line as the angle from here. Now the club is moving to the inside correctly, but what commonly happens from here, people use their wrists a little bit too early, and by the time the hands get level with their right leg, if you're right-handed, the club is already way offline. So the first checkpoint we can do is at this point here. So by the time your hands are level with your right leg, if you're right-handed, the shaft of the golf club should be in line with the club that we put between your toes. And then as we carry on turning to about hip height, then the shaft of your golf club is going to be pointing parallel to your target. So let me show you this from kind of a 45-degree angle, and then I'll show you from the side as well. So I've just put this now from kind of a 45-degree angle. So we've got the club going to target line. This is parallel to it. So if you're moving away efficiently and correctly, as we start to turn the hip, the shoulders, the arms have just been moved along. So at this point now, the shaft of my golf club is in line with the one that goes between my toe and my heel. So as I move away to here, now I know that I've moved away correctly because I can measure it, because we've got this line on the floor. So let me show you what happens when people get it wrong. So they'll introduce wrists and forearms too early, and by the time the hands are level with their right leg, already hopefully you can see from here that the club is working too much to the inside. So the first movement now is wrists and forearms have got introduced way too early, and now the club's always working behind me, which is not a great way of taking the club back. Now again, if you get this wrong and you lift the club at this point, it'll be pointed incorrectly in relationship to the line between the heel and the toe. So if we turn away, by the time you get to this point, so my hands have literally moved this far, now I know that I'm moving correctly because I can measure it. The other thing that you'll notice from here is the golf club will be roughly, the leading edge of the golf club will be roughly in line with this as well. So as I've turned this way, now we're good. So if I open the club too quickly, this won't match up. If I close it too much, although the shaft is good, the club face is wrong, that would make the golf ball go to the left. So we're just simply moving to hip height, not even to hip height, just to your leg. And then from here, as I carry on turning, at this point now, the shaft of the golf club is pointing parallel to my target, which is going to make delivering the club that much easier. So let me show you from at right angles now. So now we're at right angles to the camera. So I'm making my normal setup, that simple turn away with the hips, the shoulders, the arms are being moved along, so I'm not introducing too much wrist action or forearm action. So as I just simply turn to this point here, this shaft is perfectly in line with the one that's on the floor. So just think, if you make your setup and your first movement is rotation of the forearms, straight away your club's inside, and now it's always going to be offline, and you're going to have to make compensations to square the club face up through impact. So generally, if the club's a little bit too flat, you'll find people leaning back to let the club catch up and square up, and that's when they'll start hooking it or hitting behind it or topping the golf ball. So often we make good setup, and by the time the hands have got to the leg, already the club can be offline. So I could be picking the club up too quickly and it's offline, rotating the forearms too quickly, now the club's behind me. But if I can get really good at turning away, and as I said before, if you can measure it, you can change it. So by the time I'm here, I can see what's happening. Now my golf club's in a great position, and as I just carry on turning, at this point now, the shaft of my club, shaft of my driver in this case, is parallel to my ball to target line. It's not inside and it's not outside the line. It's nice and parallel, and you can do this with all golf clubs in your bag. So I've got a driver for the purpose of this video, but you could do it with every single golf club in your bag. And just imagine if you've made a great setup, the start of your backswing's really good. By the time you're roughly at hip height, now you're in really good position. That's going to help the top of the backswing, and that's going to help the downswing and through swings. Now, I'd love to hear your comments on this, so by all means, leave me a comment in the box below. And if you are serious about your golf game, have a look at propergolfing.com. It's a brilliant way of really improving your golf game and taking your game to the level that you want to improve. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.